Good evening, everybody. This is the Board Mayor and Alderman meeting for April the 9th, 2019. We're going to begin tonight with an invocation. I'll ask Vice Mayor Barnhill if he would offer that. Following that, we have representatives tonight from Troop 137. That's Mr. Green's troop. And we have Ben Gordon and Ian Gordon that'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So we'll all stand, and Vice Mayor?
Yeah.
Would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, tonight we come to you in prayer. Thank you for this great nation that we live in. For all the many freedoms that we have and we possess, we give you thanks for these. We ask your blessings upon all of the people who are involved in protecting our freedoms, whether it's firemen or policemen or the military. We know that it is a tremendous hardship many times on them as far as separation, family, long hours. We ask your blessings upon them. We ask your blessings upon the families of these people. We also ask your blessings upon each of us. Give us a spiritual wisdom and guidance as we make decisions for the city of Franklin. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Next is an opportunity for citizen comments for items that are not on the agenda. All the speaker cards I have up here are related to items on the agenda tonight. I didn't see anybody from the county commission. So we'll go on to approval of the minutes from March the 5th special work session, March the 26th work session, and March 26th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. And I would entertain a motion. Appropriate motion by Alderman Peterson, second by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, we're going to start out with two proclamations tonight, and the first is Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation, and we have Sarah Poulet, all these accents tonight, and Stacy Blasey. So if y'all come on up, we'll do the proclamation. And Sarah represents CASA. Stacy represents Davis House. Yeah. Good. Okay. Y'all come close. I haven't well, that's the next proclamation. So this is for our nation's children, and whereas child abuse and neglect are a continuing problem affecting millions of our nation's children annually, and whereas this societal malicious act of child abuse and neglect respects no racial, religious, class, or geographic boundaries, and whereas Davis House Child Advocacy Center, Williamson County CASA, the Department of Children's Services, local law enforcement, the local district attorney's office, and juvenile courts strive to combat child abuse and neglect by coordinating services to children and their families in crisis. And whereas our community will continue to provide education, especially in the area of early intervention focused on total prevention of child abuse and neglect, all the while progressing towards stopping this crime against our nation's children and families. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Dr. Ken Moore, Mayor, hereby proclaim that the entire month of April 2019 shall be observed as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so we're going to do a little photo op. We're going to go right up here. We can make another one. And so next I'd like to welcome to the podium Geralda Aubrey and Katie, Carolyn Collins and Sierra, Kelly, Benny, and Arlo, and Rhonda, Sherry, and Lily.
They ready for the pictures.
Oh, that's good, sure. And we just had some dog experience last month. Because we had a photography contest for the fire department, yeah. Oh, great. And we'll go up there for the picture after I read the proclamation. So, whereas Pet Partners is designated April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day, and whereas therapy animal team members of Music City Pet Partners play an essential role in improving health, well-being through the human-animal bond, and whereas therapy animal teams make thousands of visits per year in settings such as hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and hospice, and whereas therapy animal teams interact with a variety of people in our community, including veterans, seniors, patients, students facing literacy challenges, and those approaching end of life, and whereas these exceptional therapy animals who partner with their human companions bring comfort and healing to those in need. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Ken Moore, Mayor of the City of Franklin, hereby proclaim April 30th, 2019 as National Therapy Animal Day. Let's give them a hand.
Look at the camera. He's looking. Two.
Thank you so much.
Another dog. No.
Let's just stay with Vernon.
Long way.
Yeah.
Are there any miscellaneous reports tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I have a quick
Mr. Stuckey.
recognition I'd like to make. I'd like to recognize Madison Martin, who is having her last meeting with us. Madison is moving back home to Florida, where she has deep roots, and so she's been with us the last few years, has been a great help working with all of you, working with the bringing together of our agendas, and just being a great smiling face as you come through our door in administration. So we will miss her, we wish her the very best, and want to thank her for her many contributions. So, thank you, Madison. I'll throw one other one in there, and unfortunately he's not here tonight. Josh King, who has presented to you many times as a planner on our team, is moving to a position to be the assistant city planner for the city of Gallatin. So Josh will be leaving us, I guess, next week as well. Is that right? The 19th. Yes, so we will also wish Josh the best, and he's done a great job working with us and working with all of you in the Planning Commission in his work here, and know he'll do great work in Gallatin as well. So I thought Josh would be here. He's not here tonight, too, but we want to recognize him, too.
For those that don't know Josh by name, he's the guy that writes the captions that are so long. So,
Next one, we don't hire by the word.
true. So we're ready for the consent agenda, and all items under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body. They will be approved as recommended by committee or staff by one motion of the governing body. The items on the consent agenda will not be discussed. Tonight we're looking at items number 10 through 17. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Seeing none, you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 5. This is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2018-43, an ordinance to rezone 22.07 acres from the detached residential R1 district to the specific developmental residential SDR 2.04 district for the property located north of South Carruthers Road and east of Carruthers Parkway, 4338 and 4340 South Carruthers Road. Chris?
Mr. Mayor, if we could get some of those dogs back in here. I know rezonings are always contentious, but anyhow, items 5 and 6 were previously presented before the Planning Commission on November 15th, 2018, presented to you on January 8th of this year, and then deferred until the February 12th. In February, they were referred back to the Planning Commission, which in February voted 7-2 to recommend approval to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. At their February 2019 meeting, the Planning Commission included some amendments to the development plan, and we'll talk about those when we get to the next item, item 6. But as a reminder, item 5 here is consideration only for the rezoning of the property. The applicant is seeking to rezone property from the detached residential 1 district, R1, to the specific development residential SDR 2.04 district. The subject property is within the single-family residential design concept, which is within Envision Franklin, and the development is proposing only single-family residential dwelling units. Staff would like to note that as a result of the discussion in January 2019 at the board meeting, as well as the February FMPC meeting, the applicant has made a series of modifications from the initially submitted plan, which will be the next item for consideration. But with that, staff recommends approval of the rezoning request.
Does anyone want to speak to this body on the rezoning? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Appropriate motion by Vice Mayor.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Speedy. Open for discussion. Any comments? Ready to vote? Alderman Peterson.
I was just going to say that this has been a concern because, first of all, some of the lots can only be gotten to through another subdivision and not through just what we normally think of as a, just a regular public street, collector or something like that. And in addition to that, there are, what things that we're going to see in the development plan that make it of concern.
Any other comments? You ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
It passes 5-3. Next is item number 6. This is a public hearing, consideration of resolution 2018-64, resolution approving a development plan for Carruthers Chase PUD subdivision for property located north of South Carruthers Road and east of Carruthers Parkway, 4338 and 4340 South Carruthers Road.
Mr. Mayor and Alderman, the applicant is requesting the approval of a development plan for the Carruthers Chase PUD subdivision. The proposed subdivision is 22.07 acres and is planned to contain 45 single-family lots and 4 open spaces. The subdivision is within the single-family residential design concept designated in Envision Franklin. The lot sizes are comparable to the adjacent city subdivision and meet the guidelines of both Envision Franklin and the City of Franklin zoning ordinance. In keeping with the connectivity standards established within the zoning ordinance, staff has requested that the applicant provide connections to adjoining lands. To the west, the applicant has provided both right-of-way and pavement connections to the existing Falcon Creek subdivision as an extension of Meandering Way. This extension and connection is consistent with the standards found in section 5.10.4.2, which is the external street connectivity in the zoning ordinance. In early 2018, Williamson County approved the abandonment of 5 feet of right-of-way from Biltmore Court, which is adjacent to the proposed Carruthers Chase subdivision on the eastern boundary. The applicant has not proposed providing pavement all the way to the property line, but has provided right-of-way dedication for any future extension of meandering way into the Cross Creek subdivision. And should that connection ever be provided in the future, the city of Franklin would provide that additional pavement. Staff would like to address a question that was brought up by the board at the March 12th work session concerning the southern area of the subdivision, which is near the proposed cul-de-sac. Vicky, could we bring up the development plan? And as the question was as to why there's not a buffer near lots 35 and 36 of the adjacent and the adjacent property addressed as 4348 South Carruthers Road. So within the city's zoning ordinance, there's a section transitional features, and the purpose and intent within that includes an aim to, and I'm reading verbatim from the ordinance here, that there's a blend, that we would blend new development with existing development form and pattern where the existing development is established and expected to remain. So Envision Franklin actually designates that the larger piece of property, it's kind of the triangular shaped, or it's kind of looks like Nevada on its side. That property is designated as single-family residential in Envision Franklin, so it would allow smaller lots to be created there. Whether that will happen or not, we can't say. But Envision Franklin designates that property in question, which is in the city limits, as single-family residential, again making it possible that the property could be subdivided in the future. Also, the property had been considered for redevelopment in the past as part of the Ashcroft Valley PUD subdivision as late as 2016, indicating that existing pattern of development may not remain. As a result of the discussions at both the board meeting in January and then the February Planning Commission meeting, the applicant did make a series of modifications from the initially submitted plan, and the modifications are shown, it's on page 4 and then page 9 of the document from March 29th, and we can highlight those here. They're kind of bubbled out, but the first one is that the applicant has provided evergreen screening. This is on the landscape page, which actually is page 9. It's L1.0. They've provided evergreen screening between lots 22 and 25 of the proposed subdivision, which are right here. It's shown on the landscape plan. Yes, sir.
So our next,
Yeah.
turn that.
Okay, here we go. So there's on the landscape plan, there's a screening, evergreen screening here. The second is that the Planning Commission recommended a 5-foot wide landscape easement and buffer be added between lots 42, the proposed lots 42 and 45 of the subdivision, and that's on this area here. And those would have evergreens planted, I think the commission recommended 12 feet apart. And that's shown on the landscaping plan as well. The applicant has also removed the walking trail from this portion of the open space lot. And then the applicant has also shortened the depth of the lots that are on the cul-de-sac here, resulting in a 50-foot buffer within that open space. And then finally, the applicant provided which this will be on page 4 of the development plan. Let's see if we can get to that. Yep, right there. If you could scroll up just a tad bit. One more scroll up. Okay. The standards for the lots that are on the cul-de-sac Upland Drive would essentially match the rest of the lots within the subdivision. So typical lot or home square footages, as well as the side and rear and front building lines.
Can you
So
show that one more time?
Yes, sir.
You're referring to Cross Creek side, correct? Cross both sides, or just Cross Creek?
Say that one more time.
So, say it again, you were talking about the two lots setback?
Yes, sir. Yes. So these two lots, the lot line originally extended a little bit further down, so they bumped it. I guess that would be west a little bit more to provide a larger buffer area between Cross Creek and Crothers Chase subdivision. So the fifth item was that the typical lot standards were added. So the form of the homes and the side setbacks and rear setbacks would match all of the other lots within the subdivision.
Is that a total of 50 feet?
I'm sorry?
Was that a total 50 feet
Yes.
with the screening?
Yes.
Width.
With screening, correct.
Width.
Right.
We're still in public
width.
hearing.
Yeah, so with that, staff would recommend approval of the plan with the revisions as presented and with staff conditions.
Okay, have a number of speakers people that want to speak, and I had a number of emails for people requesting that their letters be put into the public record, and I've forwarded those letters to Linnea, and they've been put in the Granicus, and so those will be accessible by the public and by staff also, and some of those I actually forwarded to staff. So we're going to allow 90-second comments tonight. And if you plan on speaking, and I have a speaker card, if you'd go ahead and line up, and then I'll just call your names out as I've not arranged them in any particular way. I think however they got here. And first would be Maddie Wooding. You get to go to the head of the line tonight, Maddie. You have 90 seconds. Please go ahead. Pull the microphone to you, please.
Okay. My concern is the blasting, all that blowing up of the ground and for these houses to get built. And what would it do to our property, to my house?
Yeah, this is not an interactive session. We're listening for comments, and staff will be taking those comments into effect, as will the board members as we consider this item.
Okay.
And so,
I'm concerned about blasting.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm done.
Michael Sangster.
Yeah, I'm Mike Sangster. I live at 318 Crooked Oak Court. And basically what I'm looking for is the blasting tool. I stay about 150 feet from the property, and I'm trying to find out what is this pre-blasting survey about, since I'm so close. They stated down here about 500 feet. And then if there's any funds put aside for the blasting damage, and should we, have some kind of funds like they would have for the road damage from the construction going in and out, the traffic, and when will this here start? That's it.
Thank you, sir. Philip Zimmerman.
Philip Zimmerman at 317 Crooked Oak Court. I'd like to echo the concerns about blasting. My house actually sits about 30 feet from the property line, and so I'm deeply concerned about that. I also don't know the details of what a pre-blasting survey means, but from what I've understood about it, it kind of strikes me a bit as putting the wolf in charge of the hen house, and so I'm not convinced that that's something that's really going to be protecting me. And so to me, it looks like I'm going to have to be spending my own money to be sure that my home is cared for and protected. I'd also like to voice concern about the connectivity. I've mentioned it before, and I know you guys have heard it before. Ours is a neighborhood that has spent a lot of time developing community. It's simply going to change, and I think it brings a lot of concerning issues into the neighborhood with the kind of connectivity back into the neighborhoods behind. Thanks.
Wendy Warnica. Okay. You're now last. Bill Munson.
Bill Munson. I own 2011 Upland Drive, and my concerns are about just traffic in general. Construction traffic with a lot of young children, families. It's a pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. It's a well-established neighborhood. And also the fact that the connectivity that's been proposed really doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the context of the planned division or planned subdivision. I'd also suggest to you that the one cul-de-sac, the only way that construction traffic can get in, at least unless I see a different proposal, is Upland Drive, which there's damage, potential, but there's human damage that I'm more concerned with. So that's really the extent of my comments.
Thank you, sir. Cindy Peden?
Cindy Payden. I'm at 4348 South Carruthers Road. I have a few concerns. I'm really, number one, I'm concerned about the density of the homes that are in the proposed development are not in line with the surrounding properties, including mine. And number two, there's no consideration whatsoever has been given to putting a barrier or buffer of any kind between my property, my home, and the new development. None. And also I'm concerned about the blasting. I've lived there 25 years. I have horses, and they are going to be absolutely terrified by that. That's it. Thank you.
Dan? We know you by first name basis.
Good evening, everyone. So Cindy's property is right next to mine, and what she was referring to is the homes right up next to her property. There's no barrier whatsoever.
Can Chris point that out where we're on the back?
I'm taking some of her time, not for her.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Her home is very close to the property line, just like ours is.
And your property is the next property over?
Yes, sir. So I'm Dan Horica. I'm at 505 Biltmore Court in Cross Creek subdivision, been there 26 years, and I've communicated my concern with this development for various reasons. It seems to me like the zoning runs together with the plan. Right now, the zoning is the same as our lots, right? Acre plus lots, and as soon as you approve them to be 4 homes per acre, all of a sudden it changes everything, and what you just did. What makes it worse is that my property, the new development has 4 homes right up next to my backyard, so I get to meet 4 new neighbors. That 50-foot barrier might seem like a lot, but it's not much more than I'm away from you, and so those homes are right there. Mr. Andrews continues to talk about we're meeting in Vision Franklin, we're meeting in Vision Franklin. And Vision Franklin speaks to this, right? It says adjacent properties of new developments should be of like size with the properties that are existing. And if you look at that, those 4 homes are the same on the smaller piece of land than the piece of land that I have, where you all know is right next to it. I'm asking for your help, right? The planners spend so much time with the developers that they become their advocates. We don't have advocates. We're existing homeowners, property owners that need your help to hold them accountable. They're gonna be gone, right? They're gonna develop it, they're gonna be out the door, and we're gonna be sitting with whatever you allow them to develop. I'm asking for your help. Get rid of a couple of those lots, please. I don't care if it's acre to acre, but not 4 homes in the same size property or smaller property than I have. I've been hanging around you for 3 years now, and I respect so much what you do. It seems like I'm here all the time, but I respect what you do being here, and thank you for the service that you have. But please help us and hold them accountable to getting rid of some of those lots. Thank you.
Andrew Friday.
Eventually, you all may need to put Mr. Horeka and myself on the payroll.
Be careful what you ask for.
My name is Andy Friday, and I live on Surrey Lane in Falcon Creek. Good evening. Thank you for your time. I believe each of you hopefully received a letter from Falcon Creek's HOA President, Gail Rowe. Our HOA have declaration of covenants, conditions, restrictions, and bylaws established for Falcon Creek notarized in the state of Tennessee right here in Williamson County. If I can direct your attention to the 4 homes in the proposed cul-de-sac at the end of Upland Drive, lots 42, 43, 44, and 45, this cul-de-sac can only be accessed by way of Falcon Creek. There's no other access point. Construction traffic would have to come up Upland Drive. Our covenants, conditions, restrictions, and bylaws include language that speaks to properties, architectural controls, HOA regulations, and annexation of properties. Currently, to our knowledge, this is being reviewed by a city attorney, Shauna Billingsley. My question tonight is, have we heard back on this? If we haven't, I don't feel like you can approve this without these covenants and bylaws being interpreted by both parties. In another sense of connectivity, we feel like our covenants and bylaws speak to these 4 homes being brought into Falcon Creek as they'd only be connected to Falcon Creek and essentially brought into our community. Lastly, Envision Franklin states, I quote, "Single-family residential lots should be sized to be consistent with the existing lots of adjacent neighborhoods. The Falcon Creek average home is 1,500 to 1,700 square foot. This plan currently, which was just changed, shows that the average, the typical house size could be upwards of 3,000 square feet. And I would like to note that the Planning Commission added the buffer zone because I petitioned it with several other people on the lots at the end of Upland. Instead of giving us the standard 15-foot transition, they gave us the 5-foot. So thank you so much. And I live within about 5 feet from where this development and the blasting would happen. So blasting is a huge concern for myself. If, as a tax-paying citizen of Franklin, that I would be expected to have to pay any money to cover any damages. So thank you so much.
Kendra Correa? Korea.
Close, that's okay.
I'm trying my best
That's
tonight.
okay. I write like you do, remember last time. Kendra Correa, 1070 Meandering Way in Falcon Creek. As most of you know, the BOMA board is aware that homes in Falcon Creek have received blasting damage from the Lockwood Glen development. The Crothers Chase development will be blasting within a much closer proximity than Lockwood Glen. Why, as taxpayers, citizens of Franklin, do we have to financially be impacted by Crothers Chase? It's not reasonable that the residents of Falcon Creek bear the cost of repairs of their homes, which can reach tens of thousands of dollars if the damages are caused by Crothers Chase development. Nor should they have to pay for pre- and post-blasting inspections at a cost of $2,500 and more in order to prepare proof of damage to submit to the blasting company's insurance company for restitution for damage repair. Crothers Chase should not inflict any negative financial impact on surrounding residents. Residents of Falcon Creek would like to ask the builder, Jeremy Boak-Zulak of West End Builders, who hires the blasting company, to come to the podium this evening and explain the current blasting notification and damage resolution process to BOMA and the citizens at hand. A Falcon Creek committee is currently gathering data on homes damaged within the community. As further damage is inevitable, we would like to ask for a meeting of representatives from Falcon Creek, the Planning Department, BOMA, and West End Builders to develop a plan to manage the issue of blasting damage and the cost associated to residents involved. To our knowledge, this is the first build in Franklin for Sunnybrook Investments LLC and the builder West End Builders in Franklin. If this issue is not addressed carefully managed, the widespread damage and long-term impact to Falcon Creek will be the legacy of the builder and the developer and the city of Franklin. Tonight, the residents of Falcon Creek ask for your help in protecting our homes and the stability of our community during the Crothers Chase community development. Thank you.
Michael Sievers.
Thank you for the chance to speak tonight. Peggy, my wife, and I have lived in Falcon Creek for 23 years now, and we've always known during that time that there would be further development. We haven't had our heads in the sand about that, but we'd hope for responsible development. And what we're seeing here does not look like responsible development. With blasting in such close proximity to our homes, just within 100 feet, we've heard the noise of the excavation on the lots at South Carruthers and Carruthers Parkway. It's been extraordinary. We felt the vibrations from blasting. I know some of our neighbors have had damage from that blasting, and that's not really close, but this is practically right up against our homes. And we're just concerned about that, about what's going to happen when we have foundation damage and the like. And also just the noise from these excavation machines and everything. Is that going to go on for like 3 years like it has in the other developments? We're concerned about that, and we'd like to see responsible development. Thank you.
Greg Glass.
Good evening. My name is Greg Glass. I grew up on this property. This is the land where I was raised. I'm here to ask you today to support the resolution. I want to let you know a little bit about my family, who we are. My family has owned this land for over 80 years. All of these fine people have become our neighbors. 5 generations have lived on this land, starting with my great-grandfather, William Carruthers. Before you today is a plan that was approved by, or recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. It complies with the city zoning ordinance, and it has been planned conscientiously. My father and I have been with this project every step of the way. We want to be good neighbors. We have heard all the issues brought before this body. Tonight before you are plans that have addressed these issues. Additional landscaping to the northwest, increased buffer on the northeast, removal of a walking path. These are the many things we've heard and we want to help our neighbors with as we move forward. This is a transitional neighborhood. These roads were always stubs right up to the line. They've always been intended to continue into our property. We hope to create a legacy for our family. I would like to create a legacy that will allow my family to stay in this area for many more generations. I would appreciate your support on this resolution.
Doreen Caffin Parsons.
Good evening, and thank you for hearing our concerns. I'm going to say what everybody else has said, but we are very concerned about the blasting going to take place because our home in 2301 Surrey Lane is within 5 to 10 feet of where the blasting will take place. If you can imagine having that blasting just outside your city hall within 5 to 10 feet and think that nothing would happen to the city hall. And there'll be repeated blasting, and that is a really serious situation, and we're very concerned about it. We're also concerned about the roads, the traffic coming through the roads, the building traffic, and we're wondering if the work zone safety, which is a TDOT requirement to protect our children, all pedestrians and all traffic, we're hoping that the transportation management plan could provide the developer and have this reviewed so if they do anything there, that we know that our children are relatively safe. They walk to school, to the bus for school, they cross roads, and these big trucks will be coming through. Our home is impacted by that proposed cul-de-sac, and we are extremely close to where the blasting will be. So we're concerned about all the same things, and we really appreciate you listening. And we're asking you to fight for us, because we are existing taxpayers, and we are part of Franklin. Thank you.
Wendy?
I took the cheat sheet way and went last to pretty much say ditto to everyone except for Mr. Glass. I want to say just ditto to all the stuff about Falcon Creek that you've heard for roads, blasting, and all the concerns they have. I'm just here to support and say I'm on that team. Thank you.
Mr. Dewey?
I'm Michael Dewey.
As you guys know, this is a very difficult property as it's sandwiched between two existing subdivisions. We've carefully planned this subdivision over the past year and a half and applied revisions through the course of the process from feedback from city planning, engineering, fire, utility, and other departments, the community, planning commission, and BOMA. We met with staff in November 2017 to initially review our project. And at that time, they asked us to make some revisions, which we did. A neighborhood meeting was held on May 9th. So as you can see, there was, before we even submitted, from November to April, there was a lot of consideration given to this development plan. A neighborhood meeting was held on May the 9th. At that neighborhood meeting, concerns were raised about connectivity. We coordinated with staff over the next 6 to 8 weeks to try to get a resolution to avoid connecting the streets. We understand the importance of the connectivity and life safety, and kept the connectivity. A joint conceptual workshop was held on July 26th. At that meeting, the community and commissioner asked about the purpose of the connection, which staff helped explain in a formal setting. During this meeting, a commissioner asked if the lots could become larger in the rear of the property. So that went from 4 lots down to, or from 5 lots down to 4 lots. So that's the reason that the lots are larger in the rear. This the stub street in the back, Upland Drive, is intended to terminate, and it's currently a stub street now for future development. This proposal includes making it a dead end for permanent. It'll be permanently cut off for future development from this point forward, since it'll be a permanent dead end. The municipalities have a long-range plan. Envision Franklin is yours, which is about 150 pages. As you can see, a lot of time has been put in and effort's been put into this document. And Envision Franklin sets forth the framework that provides support in making these land use decisions. One element is identifying where inadequate or non-existent services are, which septic is sewer is not available to Cross Creek, and that's one of the reasons that staff engineering required us to make that connection to Cross Creek and Biltmore Court. We've listened to the community and we've listened to staff, and we've tried to make the revisions over the past year to make this the best development that we could. We believe this meets all requirements by Envision Franklin, and ask for your support tonight.
I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Speedy. I'll recognize the Vice Mayor if you want to make a comment.
Yeah, I would like to come back up. You heard comments such that the blasting would be within 2 or 3 feet of me. Did I misunderstand that?
I think that's what was said.
Address that.
Well, I will say from the city standpoint, we don't have any regulations about blasting or inspecting blasting. That's all done with the state fire marshal's office. And so I know that we've forwarded that information to the folks in Falcon Creek. Looks like Vernon may have, I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Please, go ahead, Mr. Kerr.
Good evening. I know that several of our neighbors have asked this question, and I'm not sure I'm going to provide as much detail as some of them has requested. But as Chris had mentioned, blasting is regulated by the state. And the typical process is that the developer builder will secure the services of a firm to survey the properties. And in the past, we've asked, and we will continue to ask, if that firm does not provide a copy of the survey to the residents, that they do. And then they also monitor the blasting to make sure it stays within regulated levels. And between the survey and the monitoring of the blasting in the area, they have sufficient information, and their insurance will cover any claims that result from that.
Could you address then, so the pre-blast survey would be paid for by the developer?
Yes.
What about the post-blast survey, or how are the citizens able to know now or a year down the road if there was damage, and who would pay for that type of survey?
That I don't have an answer to, and would certainly look into. The survey would show any, obviously, assess the current condition. I know there are pictures taken to show should there be any cracks in plaster or drywall, structural damage to foundations, and will be assessed during that pre-inspection survey. And then as a result, I'm sure there's a time period for the property owner to file a claim should they see any damage that occurs. But we can look into that detail.
Were you done, Alderman Speedy?
I guess the other question is, we heard there was some blasting damage from Lockwood Glen. I mean, has that been documented by the city, or do we, how do we know that? I guess that's
I'm not aware. I would check with our fire marshal that works closely with the state fire marshal office if there were some claims, but we would hope that with the developer in the area and those pre-inspection surveys that the property owners allow the pre-inspection survey to be conducted, and then that information, they'll have that information should some damage result of who to contact. And again, since we're the city, we're more than happy to provide that bridge if there is any lack of communication between the developer and a property owner. Obviously, there's the documentation that needs to be validated, both on the front end and at the back end of any damage, and that needs to be worked out between the parties involved. But we have high expectations that developers building in our community will communicate at a very high level.
And last question on the blasting. So we just assume there's a certain level of blasting or a lot of blasting, or what stage do we actually know that there is blasting for 6 lots or all 45 lots, or at what point do we know some of that information?
I think the developer would be able to provide a little bit more information about that. I don't know that they've done the geotechnical surveys to know all the depths of everything that would require excavation. So I can't. We don't know at this point.
If I could, this is a very good opportunity to explain a little bit of the process. We're at the development plan stage. This is a general conceptual plan. Upon approval of any development plan, if it's approved, then the next step is to move into the site plan. And that's where the geotechnical work gets done. That's where the engineering work gets done. And it starts with the grading and a planning of the infrastructure and roadways. And that's where that determination of the true impact of what's going to need to be blasted or not, or simply excavated.
And does that information how does that get, I guess, maybe communicated to the community at that point in time, or does it ever reach that stage and the developer says, well, this can't be done because we would damage homes? Is it ever process, I guess?
I'm not sure we've ever experienced that. I will also say that the approval of a development plan makes some assumptions of the entitlements, the number of lots, the configuration, the location of the roadways. It's really when a developer and their team, design team, get into the site plan that they can take advantage of those entitlements. If for some unforeseen circumstances, the topography, the rock in an instance, is not conducive to allowing the property to be developed as planned, then they have to make adjustments. Some of those adjustments may need to come back if they change the development plan substantially, or they make minor modifications and maybe don't realize all the lots and density that they have planned there. But the engineering work, the more expensive work, done by civil engineers, gets done during the site plan stage.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask, is the site plan approved by the staff only?
And yes, site plans are approved by the staff.
In other words, it does not come back to anybody?
No.
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 Okay, I have Alderman Barnhill I was going to let him finish up with his question. I'll recognize Alderman Martin after that.
I think our city attorney was referenced as to one particular person who got up and spoke. Do you have a comment on what was said?
We, the city, do not review the covenants and restrictions in neighborhoods,
Okay.
and we are not bound by them. They are an agreement made between the homeowners and the HOA. So I haven't seen them, but at the same time, the city as a whole is not bound by them. If it says anything about how the city will act or not act, it's not binding on us. Now, that doesn't mean that whatever happens in the HOA, they don't have a private right of action. They certainly could, but as far as between the city and them, we're not a party to that.
Okay.
Alderman Martin.
First of all, Michael, I appreciate what you did to modify a lot of the things that we talked about earlier. You did a good job, and I appreciate that. The reason I voted for rezoning is I feel the property owners have a right to develop their land. They do. And because it's such a difficult piece of land, I think there might be areas in those limits where some smaller lots could be. I think that though the small lots do not have a place adjoining the larger lots that are already there. And I just don't feel that I can support the development plan. I understand what everybody said, and everybody's got their own place to come from, but these homes have been there, and we do believe in putting lots backing up to others that are of like size. And these homes that have been mentioned that are larger, the lots that are larger, I do not feel that I think they need to be protected. And there are some places probably on this land where the lots would fit, but I don't think it's here. And so therefore, I will not support the development plan.
Alderman Berger.
I need this answered as well. So the developer is paying for the pre-blast survey, correct? We got that squared away. Who pays for the post-blast survey? Has that been determined? I need an answer to that. I think they're here tonight. They can answer.
That was, I believe, reflective of Alderman Speedy's question, that we'll have to look at that, because I'm not sure if a post-blast survey is conducted. If the blasting levels are remained within acceptable levels, but we will find that out.
I need to know that now. And I think the developer's here, the builder's here, the applicant is here. I think we need, I would ask that we get that information right now. Thank you.
We were asked to reach out to a blasting contractor last time we were here. We did that, and we have exchanged correspondence, and They gave us some information to relay tonight. They said state law requires that if any structure is within 300 feet of the blast area, the owner of the property must be offered a pre-blast survey at no cost. The owner can refuse after 5 days of the first notice. The blasting firm is not obligated to wait to begin blasting. So I think that goes back to Alderman Speedy's question of when will they be notified and when and what's the distance. Seismographs are not required. However, if blasts are not monitored by seismographs, the blasting firm must adhere to scale distance. Scale distance tells the blasting firm the allowable pounds per delay at certain distances. The biggest point that homeowners need to be aware of is that they will feel the blast, they will feel their home shake. This does not mean any damage is being done to their home. Studies have shown that rapid temperature change does far more to homes than the blasting. They feel the same as a strong clap of thunder. It goes on to say.
But did they indicate who pays for the post-blast surveys should someone need that?
They did not say when the post-blast survey is but my understanding is that a post-blast survey is not required unless it's the property owner is notified.
So what we're not determining here right now is if Mr. Smith, say there's a Mr. Smith, and he's there, and after the blasting, he's got cracked walls and something's happened, he wants a post-blast survey. Do we know, is he paying for the post-blast survey or is the developer?
My understanding is he reports it to his insurance company, and then insurance company.
Yeah.
But that,
yeah,
and that's my understanding of it. But it's the same. This is City of Franklin goes by state law, and that's what we're required to do. What is done in every other subdivision in Franklin.
Yeah. Thank you. I've heard that before. With some constituents in my district that it was sort of messed up. They didn't get a pre-blast. But anyway, some of the people that had a problem with that, and I do believe that they had to get with their insurance company, and then they had high deductibles, and that didn't work out very well. But, all right, so I'm assuming that that's going to be on the homeowners. Thanks, that's all the questions I had for you. So I'm all for connectivity in these streets. I want more connectivity everywhere, and I actually think walking trails are great for subdivisions, and I am sorry to see that taken out. But I just have problems with this whole thing, and I really appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this, and I didn't vote for the rezoning because I just think this is the wrong plan for this area. I don't, some of the adjacent properties, there were some things said here tonight. We all have these places where we live and we don't like them to change. I know, I've lived in 2 places before that dramatically changed behind me. I had a greenway trail stuck in my yard, which actually ended up helping me sell my home. And I realized it was going to be a good thing after a while. But after being in different places and living different places, I have come to realize that a lot of these things that go in and around homes are not detrimental to our property values. But I'm for connectivity, and when I hear about some of the stuff that's going on here, and then, Chris, can you speak, may I ask a question as well, about that you feel that this plan does meet Envision Franklin, and about the outlining areas of the homes on the outer parcels that may not be as large as what they abut, but at the same time, they do meet Envision Franklin? And how is that?
Certainly. So the areas in question against Mr. Horka's property, if there are lots that are incompatible in terms of, I believe it's less than 75% of the adjacent lots. So right now we're actually not even talking about adjacent lots because there is that open space in between. So they aren't actually
50 feet.
abutting. Yes. So if those lots were actually touching Mr. Horka's property, that's when they would have to expand in size. But since they're not actually adjacent to that incompatible lot size buffer is applied, and so it scales based on the size of the development. So in this case, it's over 10 acres. It's required to be a Class C buffer 50 feet. So when there's that discrepancy of the lot sizes, there has to be a buffer, and so this meets the zoning ordinance. So it meets the intent of the zoning ordinance. And then with respect to the Ms. Pedden's property, again, with transitional features, that's a section of the zoning ordinance. It's speaking to lots that are anticipated. There's some sort of established development pattern there. As far as I can tell, I don't believe that's part of a platted subdivision. That's acreage that was subdivided at one point. So and within Vision Franklin, that property is classified as single-family residential. So if they were to come in with a subdivision at some point, staff could feasibly support it if it met the requirements of Vision Franklin and the zoning ordinance. But
All right, well, maybe I don't like that explanation, but if it is the correct explanation for following Vision Franklin, which Emily's shaking her head as well, I sort of have an issue with that, but I'm not challenging that. I'm saying that, if you're telling me that's correct, and how it is with the buffer, 50, even if it's 50-foot buffer, which is the minimal requirement, is that correct?
yes.
Yes, for that. And so, what was the other question I had? I've forgotten it now, but I will say that someone said tonight, our planners sometimes become the advocate of the developers. I would argue with that. I think you do your job very well, and I think you are here to make sure that Vision Franklin is followed. And even though I don't care for the answer you gave me about how that works out, that's still allowable, and I might not like that, as long as that's lining up to Vision Franklin, and you're giving that direction to the developer, I will not argue with that. But I just want to make that clear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think every time I hear this plan, this development plan, it seems like we're trying to fit a square into a round hole. And I appreciate the developer who has met with us and talked this through. I appreciate the staff who has really been working with the development of this property. But I've never felt good about this fit within these two communities where we're trying to put this development into this area. Highly concerned about the blasting. I can't see how a few 50 feet or so is not going to impact a home versus Lockwood Glen, which is several hundred feet away from this area. So any kind of blasting damage is more likely than not, in my opinion. The construction traffic to get into this area will come through these neighborhoods. And that is concerning, not only to me, but for the folks that actually live there. So I'm struggling with this square trying to fit into this round hole, and I know that we have this Vision Franklin, but in my gut, I don't feel that this is a good fit. So I will not be supporting this at this juncture. So
Okay. And if I can answer about the construction traffic, so at site plan, those would be determined where that construction entrance would be. The city would not advocate, and I know that the developer has talked about this before, that the only 4 lots that would need access for construction traffic through Falcon Creek would be on the cul-de-sac. The primary construction entrance would be on South Crothers Road, and that would be determined at site plan and marked on the site plan as well. And with respect to damage for the roads, the developer is required to post both bonds for the construction of any roads that they're going to create, as well as the maintenance of other roads that they're taking access from.
I understand the roads. Okay. It was the homes. I was concerned about the homes.
Sure. But I know roads were brought up as well.
Alderman Speed, you were done.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
So this property is in my ward, and I've had multiple meetings. And like Margaret Martin said last time, it's a leftover piece of sliver of land that's, all the easy developable land has been developed, and here we are at this juncture. And it's hard for me because, I'm with Alderman Martin, that the property owner has a right to develop this land. And the developer has come to the planning staff, and in Vision Franklin, you can get pull lines out to support something, to not support something. It's a land use plan, but ultimately it has to meet the zoning ordinance. And it appears from everything that the revisions they've done, they've met all the zoning ordinances. So subjectively, I may not like it, but it's hard up here to be judge and jury when someone has done everything we've asked them to do. And that's hard. At the same time, I completely understand with every homeowner sitting out here, the fears of blasting. Safety, biggest investment that they have in their life, property values, and no one up here is a blasting expert, and it's almost like it's hinging on this blasting, and we're just unaware of post-blast surveys. Was there damage from Lockwood Glen? How much blasting is going to be done here? And we're going from R3 in Falcon Creek to 1 acre and 5 acre lots in Cross Creek. It's never going to be perfect for either side of this piece of property. And that's what's difficult. I do think if the bottom lots for the Peden property, at the minimum we could do is another landscape easement, something. I think she deserves that. And the Horeca property, I get it, but then he's got a 50-foot buffer. It's a zoning ordinance. And so if we have problems with this, it's like we need to go back and change our zoning ordinances. Because then, we've already heard Franklin's a difficult place to develop. And if someone comes in and tries to do exactly what we've told them, it's hard to vote this down. But at the same time, if I lived in Falcon Creek, I would be extremely scared of blasting. And these unknowns about, was there damage from Lockwood Glen? These roads were stubbed out. We knew there was going to be development at some point in time. I know we don't like change and we don't like growth. So this is hard. And I just wish we had some more answers on some of the blasting.
Alderman McClendon. Some of the very reasonable complaints are not things that we can do anything about, not lawfully. We can't tell a developer that you can't develop anything because it's going to create traffic, in construction traffic and noise. I don't think that's a valid basis for us lawfully to decline an applicant. So while I sympathize with those complaints, I don't think it's a valid basis upon which the board, mayor, and alderman could deny a plan. For what it's worth, some of those complaints are also temporal. They will come and they will go. The blasting is not something that we even can regulate. I think that's been preempted by the state. We can't pass ordinances or rules or regulations about blasting even if we wanted to. We are stuck with the blasting rules as given by the state. I don't like that, but that's what it is. I will continue to make this remark as long as I hold office. that the same state legislators who tell us how grievous it is for Washington DC to tell Tennessee how to do things don't blink before they do it at the state level and expect us to live with it. So there's my little soapbox moment for tonight. But we can't change or deny or do anything about the blasting impacts. I do have a question. What on the property that you described as looking like Nevada, and I've forgotten the lady's name that spoke, but
Miss Pedden.
Miss Petty.
Pedden.
Why? Tell me how that I get the bizarro math that Mr. Horeca is stuck with under our zoning ordinance. I don't see how the equation works for Nevada.
Okay.
So if you'll explain that, I may understand it.
Certainly. So I know that, Mr. Dewey said that this has been a discussion for quite a while. And the property that Ms. Pedden owns, I don't believe is part of a platted subdivision that was developed with a common, kind of a scheme of development. But one of the goals of the zoning ordinance within, or the transitional features section of the zoning ordinance says to blend new development with existing development form and pattern where the existing development is established and expected to remain.
So because she owns a nice large piece of property that might be subdivided, she's not getting the same benefit of protection from our ordinance as Mr. Horeca, such as it is getting next door.
Understandable.
Have I penetrated that one sufficiently? Okay, got it. All right.
And that when staff looks at that property was up for, included in a development plan prior to and we don't know whether she would come back
as I say these things, I believe staff has read the ordinances that we've given them and applied them as best they can and maybe even perfectly correctly. So my complaint here is not with staff, it's with the idiots that gave you these rules. So we'll try to fix that, because it makes no sense to me that the property that is larger and, let's say more pristine, if you will, somehow doesn't get the same benefit of this meager 50-foot zoning of buffer that Mr. Horeca's property get. But let me make sure I understand how that went down. Because the planner that drew this up elected not to have the lot lines touch, in which case they would have had to be comparably sized, they then got to fall back on this 50-foot buffer. All right, well, it's out of season, but let me just make this observation. That's not even 2 first downs. So that's not much. Okay, again, I find fault with the lawgivers, not the law appliers. Okay. I don't know that we'll ever be able to address the cul-de-sac at the north end of this. I think it is ironic that you have one neighbor say these lots are too small and another neighbor say these houses are too big. But I get it. They are both right from the perspective that they hold. They're both correct. Factually, if not rhetorically, too. This is a difficult piece of property. I like to try to tell people what the rules are, and then if they comply with the rules, say grace over what they've done. But to do that removes an element of judgment. And so I think it is staff's job to read the rules that we've given them and apply them, but then for this board to make judgment calls, because otherwise we're just sitting up here, rather robotically saying yes. And it causes me concern that I think Mr. Horeca's complaint is fair. 4 lots backing up to his, and it's not just the lot width. the size of those lots may aggregate to his lot. It's not just the lot width, so they could be narrow and deep and be just as big, but that would be somewhat of a, that would be a different problem. But these lots aren't, I mean, just eyeballing it, they don't, those 4 lots may be combined, may be no bigger than his lot by itself. And that's definitely true for I'm sorry, Miss Penny, Payton. Miss Payton, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names.
Right here.
And so I don't know that I could ever fix the cul-de-sac problem at the north. I get it, there's terrain and topography and all that just, and that's an anomaly that I don't like, and I understand why the Falcon Creek people don't want 4 houses at the end of their street that don't belong in their HOA, but I can't make that any different. But this southern end just strikes me as, you know, when I leave this job, I'm going to try to leave it with a clean conscience that I can rest easy upon, and this troubles me. So.
I guess I'd say one thing.
Alderman Peterson?
Did I understand the comment that these are 50 feet? There's a 50 feet buffer between lots 36, 30, and 35 and the Miss Payton's lot?
No.
They're not at all. There's,
The 50-foot buffer is between the 4 that are to the
Exactly,
west of Mr.
exactly.
Areca. Miss Payton's lot gets no buffer
that's right.
because staff has read the rule that we gave them and concluded that it's likely to change and therefore not entitled to the same protection.
Are you done, Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
I was gonna let my vote be my voice, but I'm feeling a little peer pressure here and not being the only one to talk. I agree with Margaret and property rights. I think that's why a lot of our development has actually even happened. But I do also agree with Pearl. You know, it's funny, we know Dan Horeca because he's been here fighting something similar prior, that we agreed with the fact that things need to be like in size, and now we're here for the same fight, different development. So to me, this maybe go estate lots, and you know, I don't know, but this doesn't work for me either.
Vice Mayor?
I've sat and listened to most all of the comments, and I wonder how you would ever develop this property. Falcon Creek wants smaller. Cross Creek wants larger. How would you ever develop the property? Is there any rule, any regulation, anything that the developer hasn't followed in Vision Franklin, any request, anything that he has not followed? So we sit, as Alderman McClendon says, the idiots who made those are the idiots who are sitting up here. That's who made the rules, the planning commission and us. So we voted on those things. Those are the rules and the guidelines that we set up to govern by. It's the rules and guidelines we set up to govern that should remove some of the personal feelings from our decisions. We should be able to look at the rules. We should be able to make the decisions based upon the guidelines that we have. I don't see how, when you've got one side pushing for smaller, you got one side pushing for larger, I don't think that piece of property is wide enough to accomplish that. So I mean, I would ask anybody, how would you ever develop the piece of property? Margaret has said the property owners, and Mr. Glassy got up and said, we've lived there for 80 years. I believe they have a right to develop their property. I think they have that right to develop their property. I mean, it's a difficult piece of property. I understand that. I understand the buzzword blasting and possible damage and whatever. A lot of the information that we've gotten in 2 and 3 feet and 5 feet and whatever and this and that, those are not accurate statements. And we, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way I guess it is, I mean, we blasted at a lot of different locations. I got to be perfectly candid with you and tell you, my house is window shake several times a week. I can blame the county for that.
because that rock crusher out on Carter's Creek Pike blast, and I'm in Willow Springs, and it'll rattle the windows. I've never had any damage. It doesn't mean you didn't have some. Doesn't mean a thing, but it's just one of those things that I would say to you, I've never had any damage based upon that. So I don't see how you would ever develop the property if we're going to use the excuses that we've had tonight. This person has a right, this person has a right, this one has one. I mean, we might as well just go back and redo the zoning ordinances or whatever it is on this right here, or might as well just back out of this one altogether. But those are my comments.
Mr. Mayor, we do have one more thing. Go ahead, please, go ahead and finish.
Alderman Martin's next.
Chris, why do the lots not touch? I never heard of such a thing.
Why do they not?
Yeah.
They elected to have an open space there.
Who?
The designer of the property.
You mean
so they're not, I mean, they aren't required to abut to the properties in Cross Creek.
I thought all lots touched. I never heard of any that didn't.
I think there's many.
Then you've got donut holes all over everywhere, because you've got a strip of land that nobody owns. That doesn't make sense.
No, the HOA will own that strip.
Yeah,
It's just
correct.
not being deeded to a private home.
Yeah.
Oh, the HOA owns it.
Yes, ma'am.
Open
It's open space.
Is that are you through with your question, Alderman Martin? Because I've got Alderman Peterson and
I'm through.
Alderman Peterson.
Thank you. I want to go back to say something about similar lot size, adjacent or close to other lot sizes. If you remember, the comment was that it fits the lot sizes, and I made the point that is now being said, this fits the lot sizes in the city of Franklin. It never fit the other side of this where it was Cross Creek and the others. It never fit that. At least in, and I've forgotten what is the last name, Coletta Park, or is that one of the first names? They did fit some property and made it similar to the lots.
Larger in the back.
That's right, larger in the back. However, of course, they had a lot more land to work with. But this, with the not fitting the Cross Creek and the other parts that have the bigger lots, but then whenever you get over here to the little 4 at the end, they don't fit Falcon Creek. They don't fit, well, they might get closer to Cross Creek there than they do, but they absolutely, in fact, like lot 42 backs up to 1, 2, 3 plus lots there. So it really doesn't fit. I mean, wait, and it also, the thing is that generally speaking, what happens is they are supposed to kind of be appropriate to the lots that are close by them, and then as it moves away, and I know one thing it says, usually smaller lots can be in the middle or something like that, but it's not that. But this, even though a very difficult place to develop, it seems like they have been unable to fit the things that are in our land use plan or zoning ordinance.
Alderman Berger.
I don't know. Maybe I don't have any more comments. They have the right to develop their property, of course, but, they're here for the development plan as well, and I don't necessarily think people have a right to the development plan if this board doesn't find it the right one, for obvious reasons. And I just had a question on this cul-de-sac. I think it's already got answered, though. I'm fine.
Mr. Mayor, I would, based upon what
the audience has listened to tonight and based upon what the developers heard, I would make a motion to defer this for a certain period of time and let the developer come back with a different, development plan, knowing what you've listened to, knowing what you've heard. Is that a proper motion?
Well, it's a proper motion.
We've done the rezoning.
Yeah, but they'll get kicked.
You've gotten two readings out of
Two
three.
readings.
But it's a proper motion. The
Okay.
problem is, if they amend their plan and bring it back to you, they still have to go back through planning. So it's.
They've been back to the planning commission 2 or 3 times anyway, so.
It's better, it would honestly be better to either vote up or down tonight, and then if they want to take your comments, and then
Work from there?
reapply, work from there, because they're gonna have to go back to planning either way.
All right, I'll withdraw my motion.
Well, just a minute. I just heard, and I just asked the question, if we approve this and approve the third reading, it will never come back to any public body. The staff will approve everything else from here on.
The site plan, right. We're talking.
That's right.
Right,
But-
site
but I-
plan.
but
You're
what-
right.
But that is my point, though. That is my point. It would never come back before any public body.
Because the zoning said.
No, but you've set a development plan that provides the broad guidance for how the property develops. It entitles the property.
Based on this development.
A change
Yep.
goes through the process completely, so it's a very different question.
Okay. Well, everybody's spoken except me. And I'm going to take some liberty. First of all, I would take issue with staff being an advocate for the developers. You know, staff works with neighborhoods, they work with comments that are made, and they work with developers. And I think that they're unbiased, and we've given them a playbook to play by. They play by the book, and I've seen them turn things down multiple times. I'm a little confused because, you know, I think everybody that got up tonight spoke about the blasting. And the only comment, I rarely make any comments because, and last time one of my comments was to Mr. Dewey, was about the blasting. And he wasn't very forthcoming with any comments about that until he got back up for the second time, which really frustrated me a bit because even though it's a state-regulated issue, these citizens want to know. So that really frustrated me. So I don't know how the vote's going to come out, but I think we're ready to vote and move on because we still haven't finished this meeting. So, ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. All against? The motion fails 7-1, if I counted correctly.
1 to 7.
1 to 7, I'm sorry.
Well, couldn't have that.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item.
Mr. Mayor, that item should be withdrawn because it relates directly to the
Okay.
development plan.
Item number 7 is a consideration road impact fee offset agreement with Sunnybrook Investment Company for the South Brothers Road widening project. I'd ask that this be withdrawn. A motion to withdraw.
Second.
Roper motion second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 8 is consideration resolution 2019-33, a resolution authorizing city staff to request letters of interest for developing the city of Franklin-owned property located at 405 Fifth Avenue, known as The Hill, as a owner-occupied, attainably priced residential neighborhood. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Thank you, Jesus.
I hear people talking simultaneously.
Dana and I, it doesn't matter. Dana can have it, I'll second.
Okay. Alderman McClendon had the motion. Alderman Blanton seconded. Any discussion? Ready?
I just have just very quick thing. You know, it was talking about price points and affordable housing range. Who would purchase the land from the city and who would make the money on the project? It's just, I don't mean that it has to be answered tonight. I'm just saying though, but that, you know, in talking about to get letters of interest.
I think it's vague for a reason. because we don't know any of those things at this point. And so we're just testing the water.
Yep.
Putting our
Thank
toe in the water and seeing if it's hot or cold.
Maybe President.
So
So-
let's clarify this vote one more time, if you would.
This is to request letters of interest for developing the city of Franklin-owned
Just
property
interest.
located on the hill.
Just the
And
interest. Okay,
they'll be
good.
given
I want to make sure people know.
several of the renderings that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them has a community center type building, and the other one I think is primarily residential.
Got it, thank you.
There's no mention of price points, sizes of homes, or anything like that, even though there's some vague concepts of them.
Thanks, I just wanted that clarified.
Sure, appreciate that. Ready to vote?
Mhm.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Passes 7-1. Item 9, consideration procurement award to JLD Preservation Consulting LLC of Nashville, Tennessee, a total amount of $7,950 for Hinchieville Historic District National Registry Listing Update Consulting Services for the Planning and Sustainability Department. I knew it had to come from them. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.